Can everybody take their seats, please? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this press conference on environmental goods. We have a number of participants here on the podium this morning. We will first have a statement from the Ambassador of Australia on behalf of the group, Ambassador Hamish McCormick. And after that, we will have time for questions. The questions should be limited to today's subject. Please specify your media outlet and to whom you would like to address the question. Ambassador McCormick, please.
Thank you very much. Earlier this year, the representatives of Australia, Canada, China, Costa Rica, the European Union, Hong Kong, China, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, Norway, Singapore, Switzerland, Chinese Taipei, and the United States committed to begin preparations for negotiations to liberalize trade in environmental goods, building on the APEC list of environmental goods. The global challenges we face, including environmental protection and climate change, require urgent action. Today, we are pleased to announce the launch of negotiations on the Environmental Goods Agreement, the EGA, through which we aim to achieve our shared goal of global free trade in environmental goods. We will now engage in intensive negotiations, meeting regularly in Geneva to discuss the substance of the agreement, including product coverage. We are committed to work towards the timely and successful conclusion of the agreement. In this process, we are committed to work together and with other WTO members similarly committed to liberalization that are interested in joining our ambitious efforts. We are convinced that this WTO initiative will strengthen the rules-based multilateral trading system, support its mission to liberalize trade, provide important impetus to the DDA negotiations, and benefit all WTO members, including by involving all major traders and implying the principle of most favored nation, once a critical mass of members agree to participate. Thank you very much. Now, if there are any questions.
Can I see hands, please? And for information, a copy of the statement is available here and will be also made available electronically. John Zarakostas, please.
Yes, good morning. John Zarakostas from McClatchy Newspapers and other publications. My question is to the chairman of this press conference, I think the Ambassador of Australia. You said critical mass. What's the membership's definition of critical mass? It's a very, very fluid concept. What do you understand as a critical mass to gavel a deal? 75% of global trade, 85, 90, 95, 65? And I've got a follow-up question.
I don't think at this stage we'd be answering that sort of detailed question, John, but what we do know is looking at environmental goods, the participants around the table at the moment have a very large percentage of trade in environmental goods, and we know that by adding in more WTO members, we can increase that significant proportion even more. So I think at the moment we're focusing on moving forward with the negotiations. Don't know if anybody else has anything that they would like to.
Yeah, I've got a follow-up question, perhaps anyone on the podium. Environmental goods, you've got some parallel plurilateral talks that are looking at trading services at the plurilateral level, and how does this dovetail with environmental services? And I've got a question for some of the delegates. You're pursuing environmental goods here, but at the same time, in your home economies, you're subsidizing input costs that are damaging to the environment. There seems to be a contradiction here.
Could I just say, if you see on the joint statement, John, this actual initiative is focused on goods. And as you say, there are other initiatives, many of them around the place in different formats looking at other non-goods issues as well as goods issues. So I think it's pretty clear that this initiative, the EGA, is focused on environmental goods.
Maybe other ambassadors want to comment?
Angelus.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of quick comments. Answering John's important question about services, other initiatives, etc. Let me 2 points there. Let me first say that from an EU point of view, we of course have a long-standing commitment to liberalization of environmental goods and services. We had a consistent line on this multilaterally, We took a number of plurilateral initiatives, including in 2007 the initiative to liberalize climate-friendly goods at the margin of the Copenhagen Climate Summit, and bilaterally it's also a priority in our free trade agreements. Concerning the approach on this specific initiative, as the Ambassador of Australia said very clearly, we all agree that we concentrate on goods, at least for this phase. We are committed to eliminate tariffs on a broad range of green products, but at the same time we look forward to a second stage where we want to address non-tariff barriers and services, in particularly those ancillary to the green goods exported as part of future. It has to be what we call a future-oriented agreement. In the global value chains of today, the environmental goods and services are closely interlinked, and this is a strong economic reality. At the same time, we have to be realistic on what can be done, and clearly the focus for this stage is a pragmatic approach on green goods. Thank you.
Any further questions, please? Jean-Pierre Cap from NZZ.
Do you have an idea what the impact on what an increase of trade could be in kind of figures, as you do it for other things you're negotiating like TISA or ITA?
Others around the table may have done some modelling, but we haven't done any particular estimates at this stage. But clearly, the broader the initiative, the broader the product coverage, and the broader and more comprehensive the elimination of tariffs, then the more significant the benefits will be. So, Chris.
Maybe just to add, again, I don't think we have sort of a global number in terms of an ultimate sort of economic benefit in terms of environmental protection, but we do think that there's about $1 trillion annually that's traded in terms of environmental goods, so a very substantial dollar figure in terms of the total trade that we're talking about. There are, some cases where the tariffs that are applied to these products are as high as 30 or 35%, and so moving to liberalize and eliminate tariffs on those products obviously will be meaningful. And even where tariffs are potentially at a much lower level of 5% or under, still we think that the impact of liberalization can be very significant. In an area, for example, like clean technologies for power generation, wind turbines, these are extremely costly procurements, and so a 3% or a 5% tariff does impose an impediment. And so here again, the objective of tariff elimination, we think, will have a very significant effect economically and for the environment.
Thank you. I would like to add another element of the importance of this initiative. So far, we've been talking about the impact on trade, but I would like to emphasize the importance that this agreement will have on the diffusion of the innovative technology. Because, for example, for many of the environmental issues, including in particular climate change, we need the innovative technology so that we can reach ambition on those areas. And with the liberalization of tariff for environment goods, it will certainly lead to the diffusion of those innovative technologies. So there is a merit on those points as well. Thank you.
The Canadian Ambassador Johnson.
Just a small note to add to the U.S. observation. Looking forward, based on this rough global figure of $1 trillion, some estimates suggest that as early as 2020, this market globally could grow to as big as $3 trillion. So you're talking about a sector or a range of products that is clearly going to increase in production and exports. and as my Japanese colleague said, all to the benefit of diffusion of technology and ultimately to the environment. Taking Canada, a smaller economy on this eminent table, our exports alone account for about 20 billion in this area. Taking the APEC-based definition, that's 50,000 workers, about 700 different firms in Canada alone. So its impact is very broad. Thank you.
We have any further questions, please? John, unless
yes,
anyone
coming
else
back, I was wondering the definitional issue. There's been a debate in the WTO whether some products can be classified as environmental goods or agricultural products. And I was thinking, for instance, biofuel from extracted from sugarcane. Is that a product or is it an agricultural commodity? Because in some countries it has a 49% import tariff.
In the absence of anybody else jumping in there, I mean, I think that's one of the issues that we're going to be working through, John. So I think...
Is it a good, or is it a industrial good, or is it falling in the category of an agricultural product?
Well, it's a good, and whether it's covered as part of this agreement will be part of the issues that we'll be working through in the negotiations.
But it's not gavelled in yet.
Well, we're just launching the negotiations today, so we'll be finishing tomorrow, obviously. But
it's just that it's been 15 years trying to agree on this definition, so it'd be interesting to see you agreeing in a few weeks on this.
Angelos.
John has always pertinent questions, not always the simplest to answer, but just to help in a little bit of a peripheral way, John, because there is the wider question of the definition of environmental goods. And it's true that this is not sorted out exactly. There is no international definition acceptable by all what environmental goods are. We hope that through this process we will get to an outcome of the kind. The orientation that this initiative has is clearly to talk about industrial products that will contribute to the NAMA discussions, the non-agricultural market access discussions. The kind of products that we are looking at are energy-efficient products, products to combat air pollution, to provide clean drinking water, used for waste management and renewable energy equipment, for example, wind, solar, hydro, biomass. As I said, there is no international consensus on a precise list of what those products are, but the negotiations are starting with the intention to advance efficiently and relatively quickly. So we look forward to dealing with this important aspect of the definition too. And as we talked, colleagues gave some figures, and I talked about services. Let me add one more figure in the presentation, which is that the relation between services and goods in this market, which according to the OECD, the green services account for 65% of this total market and green goods for 35%, just to underline the importance of services, although, as I said, I repeat, we are looking forward to services in the second phase of this negotiation. Thank you.
Any further questions? Ravi? You're quiet.
Thank you. The general question, more than 2/3 of the membership of this organization is outside, while you are now embarking on a plurilateral agreement. Perhaps issues concerning credibility of this whole exercise will definitely arise in the coming days. Namely, you are bringing sectoral tariff elimination through a back door, on the pretext that you are primarily addressing the climatic-related issues. I'm also surprised that China is very much there. China is stand on sectoral tariff elimination in industrial goods is something different from what it plans to do. So I just want some clarity that what is the credibility of this whole exercise when majority of the membership involved in these negotiations over the last 13 years have been basically opposing this whole sectoral tariff elimination.
Thank you, Ravi. From our point of view, sitting on this lectern and with the other 13 people involved in this initiative, we think we have a group of WTO members who want to move forward with liberalization on environmental goods. We are approaching it in a very constructive manner, consistent with the way we have done plurilateral initiatives within the WTO before, i.e. approaching it with the objective of an MFN outcome, tariff outcome. We think that's a very constructive and productive way to approach it, and we welcome broader participation by more WTO members as we go forward. So from our point of view, we think it's a very constructive initiative and one that will contribute, as I said in the statement, to broader processes of tariff and other trade reform globally, and will help with the WTO. So thank you very much. China.
Thank you, Hamish. And you see, China decided to join this process for mainly two purposes. The first one is to work together with the other members, participants, to reduce or eliminate the goods on environmental goods, to promote the environmental protection and the sustainable development. The second purpose is to ensure the credibility of the multilateral trading system. This exercise should take place within the context of the WTO. It should be implemented at the end of the day on the basis of MFN, as Hamish elaborated. And we'd like to see more developing members in particular, join this process to make it more credible and to make contributions to the post-Bali work program and to this multilateral trading system. Thank you.
Switzerland.
Thank you. I just would like to recall that sectoral tariff negotiations are part of WTO toolbox. And we have also in the past, we have done sectoral tariff negotiations. We have done them on chemicals. We have done them on information technology goods. I think that's part of what we are doing in WTO. And it is also, I think, on the benefit of all members if we are doing agreements which are MFN. Let's say the result which we will get out of these negotiations will be changes in our schedules, which will be an opening for the members of this organization. So I think it is an effort to strengthen the WTO. It's also a way to make headway in this organization where it has become very difficult to make headway, where it has become very, very difficult to negotiate market access. It even has, for a certain time, been almost a bad word to say market access, but that's what this organization is about. And I think that we are trying to do something in favor of this organization, in favor also of the opening also of our markets. And I think it's also contributions which we are doing. I think that's something which hopefully encourages also others. Thank you.
New Zealand?
Well, thanks, Hamish. And just to, I think, reinforce that point that
We think that this initiative should really support and give an impetus to our broader efforts within the organisation. I think, as some of the other participants have said, of course, the results here would be applied on an MFN basis to all WTO members. Obviously, this sectoral initiative has some very specific benefits, not only in terms of eliminating tariffs, I think we hope a very ambitious and broad range of goods, but also this very specific objective of addressing these environmental challenges that I think Yoichi, our Japanese colleague, has spoken of. But just really to reinforce that point, that we think that it should very much reinforce our broader work here at the WTO. Thank you.
Harold, Norway.
Thank you. Just to echo some of the comments made by my colleagues here. Norway is a very strong supporter of the multilateral trading system, and we see this effort as supporting the efforts that we are undergoing in this organization. And we see this as a very open initiative. Others can join as we move along. And the important aspect here, of course, is also the application of the end result on an MFN basis, bringing the result into the WTO system, so to say. And just to say also that these negotiations, of course, deal with liberalization of trade, but they will contribute to environmental protection and hopefully also have a positive impetus on the establishment of a global climate agreement. These things are all interconnected, and that's one of the reasons why Norway is joining this initiative. Thank you.
European Union.
I will probably repeat the arguments that the colleagues made already, but I think it is worth repeating. Particularly, there was this word credibility in the question of Ravi, and honestly, sometimes I think in this organization, or people looking at this organization, we get trapped in the semantics. Let's see what we are talking about here, really, from what we have heard this morning. We are talking about a sector of economic activity which is extremely important for everybody. We talked about $1 trillion market already, that in a few years will move to 2 or 3 trillion. We are talking something of extreme potential importance for everybody, developing, all members of this organization. And what do we do in this organization, basically? We talk about liberalizing trade in a way that is acceptable to all, in a balanced way, and usually, in order to get concessions, you have to pay something in the logic of the negotiations. Paying means that you have to reduce some of your tariffs to get benefits from others. That's the way, basically, the negotiation goes. What we are talking about here is a process where those mostly involved in this very important sector, we are trying to do an agreement where tariffs will be hopefully eliminated for a wide range of products on an MFN basis, which means that everybody else will benefit from it without paying anything. So it's a deep interest, positive, for those who participate, and particularly for those who will benefit from this without non-paying. Now, we hope very much that everybody will join and participate in the process, because we have important elements to define in this process, the definition of the products, etc. We hope very much that everybody will join from the beginning, and it's certainly open to everybody who wants to join. But fundamentally, this effort is a key effort to move this organization forward, to move international trade forward, to help development, and to help everybody who participates. That means practically all members of this organization, to this very important sector. So I think it's important to put this whole initiative in the right perspective. Thank you.
Korea.
Thank you, Hamish. I have a couple of points. As you see the statement, there is a footnote. The Korea, actually, we are now going through the domestic procedure in formally joining the negotiations. We haven't actually mentioned here the timeline, but in the reasonable prospect, we can complete our domestic procedure by end of July. Then actually we are ready to negotiate with other partners. Responding to the Ravi's point, whether this plurilateral agreement would contribute to the multilateralism or not. I mean, if the MFN would be conditional, then maybe plurilateralism could make a kind of block building process, may exclude other WTO members in the liberalization process. But as we clearly mentioned here, there is unconditional MFN is what we are now pursuing. Therefore, I think the objective, what we are now doing is the reinforcing trade and environment at the same time. I think the goal is very clear, and then process is clear as well. Thank you.
Ravi, you had a follow-up question.
Yeah, I just want to come back to two specific comments, namely from the NAMA chair of negotiations, the Swiss ambassador, and to the EU on the semantics issue. Namely, in the question of market access, everything in this organization is built on the principles of reciprocity, and namely that this being a mercantilist organization, that what exactly are you now going to offer to those who do not, for example, see that their issues are not being addressed, whether it is ethanol tariffs in the U.S. market or whether it is several non-tariff barriers that are there in these environmental goods. The second issue is on this issue of semantics. The developing countries largely point out to what have you guys done on the CO2 reduction commitments, the Kyoto Protocol. For example, Canada walked out of it. Japan has more or less withdrawn from it, except EU, which has implemented. So the issue of credibility comes because over the last 20 years in this climate change negotiations, you have not met your commitments of CO2 reduction commitments. And today you are talking of environmental goods, basically a sectoral tariff elimination through a back door. So how would you address this issue of credibility? I mean, the negotiations in this organization are not taking place in an isolation. They're taking place in relation to what has happened over the last 20 years in the climate change negotiations. Thank you.
Switzerland.
Thank you, Hamish. I take the first question, what we are offering to the ones who are not part of the initiative on the product of their interests. And I think what we offer to them is to join. We offer them to join these negotiations and to bring forward their interests they have. And I think that's negotiations. And what we also offer to all of them, which has also been said, is that whatever we have as results, that's results MFN.
Angelos, I think you were the next target here for the question. Yeah.
No target. Is the one having the next opportunity to make some useful, I hope, comments. There are a number of aspects in the comments of Ravi, of course, that go beyond the competence or the area that is covered by this organization or by this specific initiative. He made the issue of credibility much bigger, but he recognized for the Kyoto Protocol the role of the EU. Let me say in a little bit different words, Ravi, again, what this agreement does or has the ambition to do. Let me do this in 6 very brief points. Again, partly repeating what was said, but I think it's important to have the overview of what we are really talking about here. I gave the order of magnitude. I will not come back to numbers, but let me make 6 points. First, this agreement that we are seeking will boost global trade in green goods and services. Second, it will be a valuable instrument to support green industry globally. Third, it will help us all to meet climate and energy targets. Whatever else happens elsewhere, this will be, in other international fora and agreements, what we are trying to do here will help us collectively move in the right direction. Fourth, it will provide cheaper access to those technologies worldwide, contributing to environmental protection, climate action, and green urbanization, which is important for all. Fifth, it will enhance security of energy supply in the EU and elsewhere, and reduce dependency of fossil fuels. And these are, of course, part of wider objectives. And sixth, I will come to what several colleagues said. It will create an impetus to the WTO discussions. There is no doubt that if we are successful in this effort, and if we manage to move quickly in this negotiation, this will have a real added value for our wider effort to move towards concluding DDA and thus responding to our commitments in this organization. So, in a nutshell, Ravi, my answer is that we don't pretend through this agreement to solve all the problems of the world. And there are other global challenges out there that have additional dimensions that are not covered by this initiative. But it's important to understand what is the potential positive impact of what we are trying to do here with this sectoral initiative, and how much, in fact, it will help our global effort, particularly in post-Bali and related to the multilateral negotiations that remain our primary objective, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Angelos. And I think that was a very nice way to wrap up the question time. I think we're going to move on, John. You come in afterwards. I can get people after the event.
20 seconds. I was wondering, in this negotiation, what would be the linkage between environmental goods and IPR and intellectual property rights, which has been an issue since Rio Summit in '92?
Yet another one of many issues that we will grapple with, I'm sure, through the negotiations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the press conference. The information will be available on the websites of various missions as well as on the WTO website. Thank you very much.